The 8 most mysterious and ancient mummies discovered by archaeologists that could rewrite history. Dear friends, when we think of mummies, most of us immediately picture Egypt, a land of towering pyramids, legendary pharaohs, and millennia-old mysteries that remain unsolved. But interestingly, the world of mummies isn't confined to that scorching desert. Across every continent, from icy mountaintops and arid plains to the murky depths of wetlands, archaeologists have uncovered countless bodies astonishingly well preserved over the centuries. And what's truly surprising is that each mummy carries its own story, so strange and haunting that it sends chills down the spine. Some mummies leave people in awe because of how intact and lifelike they appear, as if they had simply drifted off to sleep. Others wear mysterious smiles that have baffled generations of scientists, driving them to search tirelessly for answers. And there are even mummified couples found embracing one another in deeply emotional poses, as if trying to send a message across time itself. So what allowed these bodies to withstand the harsh ravages of time? Behind those layers of wrappings and those lifeless eyes, could there be secrets that have never been revealed? And who knows, perhaps these stories might even change the way we understand human history. If you're curious, join me on this journey of discovery in today's video. I believe what you're about to see will keep you glued to the screen. Now, let's dive into the first mummy. The world's most infamous mummy shocks experts. On May 12, 1897, 2 laborers dredging peat from the Stuyvesant bog near the village of Ede in the Netherlands made a chilling discovery: a deformed, partially preserved blackened body with striking red hair. According to officials at the time, the girl had likely been murdered. Evidence included a knotted cord still wrapped around her neck and a stab wound near her collarbone. It took scientists nearly a century to determine that the body belonged to a 16-year-old girl, just over 3 feet tall, who had died sometime between 54 BC and 128 AD. Today, she is known as the Wide Girl, and her body has been preserved for over 2,000 years. The mystery surrounding her baffled scientists from the very beginning. When local officials and the Drents Museum of History received the body on May 21, 1897, her identity was completely unknown. The noose around her neck and her missing limbs pointed to a brutal murder. Additionally, one side of her hair had been cut short, and all of her teeth were missing. At the time, there was no way to determine her age. Radiocarbon dating wouldn't be developed until the 1940s. It wasn't until 1992 that Professor Richard Neve of the University of Manchester performed a CT scan of her skull and concluded the body was that of a female around 16 years old, based on the absence of wisdom teeth. She also suffered from scoliosis, which would have weakened her body, and her right foot was severely swollen, likely causing her to limp. Carbon dating confirmed that the girl had died during the early Common Era, and the bog's tannic acid had preserved her remains ever since. In 1994, when experts reconstructed her face, the Eyed Girl became internationally famous. The reason behind her death is still unclear. Dr. Roy van Beek of Wageningen University offered a few theories. There are 2 main hypotheses, he explained. The first is that bog bodies may have been people who violated social rules or were found guilty of a crime. The second, and more widely accepted, is that they were sacrificial offerings to a higher power. So what is the truth? How did the Eyed Girl die? To answer that, in 2019, Dr. Van Beek and his colleagues conducted a detailed study using landscape and terrain analysis. They concluded that her death may have had a more personal motive. The girl may have come from a nearby settlement on the slopes of Ide, Van Beek explained. However, her body was left in a small and relatively shallow bog, about 2/3 of a mile away. Officials from the Drents Museum later clarified that the girl's hair had likely been cut by 19th century villagers after her discovery. Historically, cutting a woman's hair as punishment for adultery was a common practice in medieval Europe. However, no evidence of a husband or proof of disfigurement or deformity was ever found. Some researchers speculate that the girl may have been selected as a child sacrifice, a ritual believed to bring prosperity to agriculture during ancient times. But all of this remains purely speculative. To this day, the mystery surrounding the death of the Eyed Girl remains unsolved. Her mummy is currently housed and preserved at the Drents Museum in Assen, Netherlands. If you ever get the chance, it's definitely worth a visit. The most heavily tattooed female mummy ever discovered. In 2006, an excavation at the Huaca el Brujo archaeological site in Peru led to a groundbreaking discovery that shook the world of archaeology. Researchers uncovered the mummy of a woman, whom experts later named the Lady of Cow for ease of study. This mummy is believed to have lived approximately 1,600 years ago, during the time of the Moche civilization, an ancient culture renowned for its grand architecture and distinctive art. Examinations revealed that the Lady of Cow died at the young age of around 20 years old. Experts suspect her cause of death may have been complications following childbirth. This tragic detail makes her story all the more mysterious and captivating, blending the sorrow of a young death with the enigmatic aura of the Moche civilization. What sets the Lady of Cow apart is the intricate and meaningful tattoos covering her body. Experts identified depictions of mythical animals such as spiders, snakes, crabs, catfish, and other creatures, each carrying rich symbolic meaning in Moche belief systems. These tattoos were not just artistic expressions, they were deeply spiritual, likely serving as a connection to the divine. Because of this, scholars believe the tattoos weren't mere decoration, but may have played a role in religious rituals or served as symbols of the Lady of Cow's status and power. The tattooing technique used by the Moche was also remarkably sophisticated. They employed sharp needles or bone thorns to embed charcoal-based ink into the skin, creating detailed and vibrant tattoos. Thanks to the arid climate of Huaca el Brujo, both the body and the tattoos of the Lady of Cow were remarkably well preserved, surviving for more than a millennium. Beyond her tattoos, the Lady of Cow was buried with a range of valuable artifacts, including weapons, gold ornaments, and other symbols of authority. These findings strongly suggest that she was far more than an ordinary woman. The burial practices and accompanying items point to her possibly being a high priestess, a figure of religious authority in Moche society. This theory is further supported by her tattoos, which are closely linked to gods and sacred rituals. With these discoveries, researchers continue to investigate her life and status. Was she a powerful priestess, a central figure in Moche spiritual ceremonies? The mystery remains, and future research may bring even more of her story to light. So, what do you think about these findings? Could these tattoos be more than religious symbols? Perhaps signs of the power and influence the Lady of Cow held within her society? These questions remain open, and they continue to spark interest among scholars and history lovers alike. And if you happen to know something about this fascinating mummy, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's explore this mystery together. The 400-year-old mummy of a French noblewoman. During an archaeological excavation at Château de Laval in northwestern France in 1988, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a French noblewoman named Anne de Legre, who died in 1619. Her body had been mummified inside a lead coffin, and her skeleton and teeth were found in remarkably well-preserved condition. At the time, researchers noted that the mummy had an artificial tooth and gold wire bindings, but lacked the advanced scanning technology to investigate further. Now, 35 years later, a team of archaeologists and dental experts, led by Rosen Kaliter from the French National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research, have made new discoveries about de Legre's condition. Using cone beam CT scanning, a type of 3D imaging with X-rays, they found that de Legre had suffered from periodontal disease, which caused her teeth to become loose. The scans revealed that gold wires had been used to hold and tighten several of her teeth in place, while her artificial tooth was made of elephant ivory, not hippopotamus ivory, which was more commonly used at the time. However, Kaliter explained that this intricate dental work may have worsened her condition. The gold wires had to be tightened repeatedly over the years, likely causing even more instability in the surrounding teeth. Yet, the pain de Legre endured may not have been solely for medical reasons. There was immense pressure on noblewomen during that era, as physical appearance was closely tied to social value and status. Ambroise Paré, a contemporary of de Legre and physician to several French kings, designed similar dental prosthetics and once said that if a person had no teeth, their words carried no weight. A beautiful smile held powerful meaning, especially for Anne de Legre, a socially controversial woman who had been widowed twice. De Legre lived through one of France's most turbulent historical periods. She was a Protestant Huguenot and fought against Catholics during the French Wars of Religion in the late 1500s. By the age of 21, she had become a widow and had a young son named Guy de Laval. When the Eighth War of Religion broke out, Delegree and her son were forced to flee from Catholic forces, and their property was seized by the king. Her son later converted to Catholicism and went to fight in Hungary, where he died in battle at the age of 20. After being widowed a second time, Delegree died of illness at the age of 54. Researchers say that her teeth alone offer compelling evidence of the stress and hardship she endured throughout her life. This is surely one of those historical mysteries that even the most avid students of world history might never come across, if not for the incredible work of modern archaeologists. A perfectly preserved 16th century mummy hides an unbelievable secret. In 1949, archaeologists in the town of Guano, Ecuador, discovered a mummy dating back to the 16th century, remarkably well preserved. This find stunned archaeologists and experts alike, as ancient mummies typically degrade significantly over time. But in this case, the body of a man had been preserved in nearly perfect condition. So, what allowed this mummy to remain intact for centuries? To answer that question, Philippe Charlier, a French forensic pathologist known for his studies on the remains of Adolf Hitler, recently conducted a research project on the mummy. According to Charlier, the mummy revealed many fascinating secrets thanks to its exceptional state of preservation. Specifically, the body had been kept in a cold and dry environment, which protected it from environmental decay and the passage of time. Because of this, researchers were able to closely examine the man's health and medical history. One surprising finding was evidence of rheumatoid arthritis, a chronic autoimmune disease that causes the joints and limbs to become stiff, swollen, and painful. Experts believe that this man may have lived with rheumatoid arthritis for a long time before passing away at the age of approximately 85 to 90 years old. Notably, the ability to detect signs of disease in ancient remains has given scientists a deeper understanding of the health conditions of people in the past, as well as how they may have coped with illness. However, another strange discovery left archaeologists puzzled. Next to the man's mummy, researchers found a mummified mouse buried alongside him. This raised many unanswered questions. Why would a mouse be mummified and placed next to a human who died centuries ago? Was the mouse part of a religious ritual, or did it hold some special symbolic meaning that we have yet to understand? To this day, the identity of the man remains unknown. Archaeologists continue searching for clues to determine who he was and why he was buried with a mummified rodent. Still, this discovery has opened a new window into the study of ancient burial practices, giving us deeper insight into the spiritual beliefs and rituals of long-lost cultures, don't you think? The smoke-mummified bodies, hanging on cliffs in the Murky highlands of Papua New Guinea. Normally, when we think of mummies, we imagine bodies carefully embalmed and preserved in golden sarcophagi, stone coffins, or rare wooden caskets. However, for centuries, the Anga tribe in the Murky highlands of Papua New Guinea has practiced an eerie and unique form of mummification, smoke preservation. And instead of burying the bodies, they hang them on sheer cliff faces, overlooking the villages below. The sight of reddish human remains hanging high on rocky cliffs may seem frightening or even bizarre. But for the Anga people, this is the highest form of respect they can show to the deceased. The mummification process is carried out by experienced individuals within the tribe. After being smoke-dried over a fire, the body is covered in clay and red earth, forming a natural cocoon that protects it from insects and scavengers. Once the preservation is complete, the mummy is then hoisted up and secured to the cliffside. This practice was not reserved for tribal leaders or warriors alone. All men, women, and even young children in the Anga tribe could be mummified in this way. What's even more unsettling is that, on death anniversaries or during important events, the mummies might be taken down from the cliffs, only to be rehung afterward. The idea of interacting with the preserved dead might seem terrifying to outsiders, but for the Anga, it was a meaningful part of their connection to their ancestors. Thankfully, or perhaps unfortunately, depending on your perspective, this mummification ritual was banned in 1975 when Papua New Guinea gained independence. Today, only a few remote tribes still carry out this ancient and chilling tradition. The mummified monk, inside a 1,000-year-old Buddha statue. In the world of Buddhism, some stories go beyond legend and mystery. Aside from the globally known tale of Lama Dashi Dorjo Itagilov, there exists another lesser-known yet equally fascinating story, one that continues to spark curiosity and debate. It centers around a Chinese Buddhist master who is believed to have self-mummified while meditating. The story begins with an ancient Buddha statue, estimated to be around 1,000 years old. When scientists scanned the statue using imaging technology, they uncovered a shocking truth. Inside the statue was a skeleton of a Buddhist practitioner seated in the lotus meditation position. Further analysis revealed that the remains belonged to Zhenggong Liuquan, a monk from the Chinese Chan, Zen Buddhist tradition, who is believed to have died around the year 1100 CE. It is believed that Zhenggong Liuquan undertook the ritual of self-mummification, a sacred and extremely rare practice among certain Buddhist monks. The purpose of this ritual was to become a living Buddha, a state of ultimate spiritual purification and transcendence. To achieve this, the monk would subject himself to an incredibly strict and ascetic regimen designed to eliminate all fat and moisture from the body. For the first 1,000 days, the monk would eat only nuts and berries. After that, the diet shifted to tree bark and roots, and finally, he would begin drinking a toxic tea made from the sap of the urushi tree. This poison not only helped kill off bacteria and parasites in the body, but also acted as a natural preservative, preventing decomposition after death. Once this process was complete, the monk would enter a small stone tomb, sealed except for a breathing tube and a bell. He would continue to meditate in the lotus position until death. The guard outside would know the monk had passed when the bell stopped ringing. At that point, the tomb would be sealed permanently, and the body would undergo the final stage of natural mummification, marking the monk's transformation into a revered spiritual figure. The story of Zhenggong Liuquan became even more remarkable in 2015 when researchers removed materials from inside the statue. Instead of internal organs, they found decayed remnants and a scroll bearing ancient Chinese characters. This discovery was not only groundbreaking but also controversial, especially since the statue was allegedly stolen from China by a Dutch art collector over 20 years ago. The case has since strained diplomatic relations between the two countries, and to this day, no formal agreement has been reached regarding the statue's return. Many Buddhists believe that mummies like this do not represent death, but rather spiritual beings in a state of deep meditation. However, recent studies suggest that Zhenggong Liuquan died at the age of 37, and his body showed signs of illness, possibly due to the extreme fasting or other health conditions. This has led some scholars to question whether he truly completed the self-mummification ritual on his own, or whether others were involved in preserving his body after death. Regardless of the unanswered questions, the story of Zhenggong Liuquan remains a powerful testament to the devotion, patience, and unshakable faith of Buddhist masters, those who were willing to give not just their lives, but even their physical bodies, in pursuit of spiritual transcendence, even if the path led to death and immortality. Mummified man found aboard yacht. On Friday, February 26, 2016, the sky was clear and the sea calm, perfect conditions for a fishing trip. Christopher Rivas, 23, a resident of Borobo, a small town on the eastern coast of Mindanao Island in the Philippines, set out to sea with a few friends. About 40 miles offshore, the group was startled to discover an old, dilapidated white yacht named Sayo. Resembling a ghost ship, its hull was severely damaged beyond repair. The mast was broken and collapsed onto the deck, and part of the vessel had already sunk below the waterline. Curious, Rivas and his companions boarded the boat. What they found was far more horrifying than they could have imagined: the mummified body of a naked man sitting in a chair. They immediately reported the discovery to local authorities. Through investigation and documents found inside the cabin, police were able to identify the body as that of German sailor Manfred Fritz Bajorat. An autopsy revealed that the 59-year-old had died of a heart attack. He had likely been adrift at sea for several weeks. The salty air and intense heat from the seawater acted like natural preservatives, slowing the decomposition process. Explaining how Bajorat's body remained largely intact with minimal signs of decay, forensic pathology professor Peter Venezes stated, "The air, heat, and salt from the sea are all favorable conditions for mummification. These natural elements can preserve a body for about 2 to 3 weeks. After that, the fingers and then other body parts begin to dry out quickly within 1 or 2 months, eventually decaying slowly over time." News of this mysterious incident quickly spread across the internet. One question dominated everyone's mind: How did Bajarat, a German national, end up drifting alone in Philippine waters? Thanks to notes and personal items left behind on the yacht, police were eventually able to piece together the story. One handwritten note from Bajarat read, "30 years we traveled the same path together. Then you left me. May your soul find peace, your Manfred." The yacht itself was a treasure trove of family memories. Bajarat had kept albums filled with photographs, from snapshots taken at Notre Dame Cathedral and Parisian cafes to pictures from family picnics. The photos painted a picture of a once happy family. One photo showed Bajarat cradling a baby with a caption that read, "Our first time at sea with little Button." In these captured moments, he appeared overjoyed, cherishing every second with his wife and daughter. The German embassy in the Philippines eventually contacted Bajarat's family. They revealed that he had been an experienced sailor. He had once enjoyed a happy family life, but his wife had died of cancer in 2010. His daughter Nina was serving as a captain on a cargo ship at the time of the discovery. According to Nina, 2 years after her mother's passing, Bajarat set sail alone, exploring the seas for many years. It seems that the loss of his wife and the emptiness that followed left a wound that never healed. Bajarat chose to leave everything behind and made the ocean his final eternal home. The 2,100-year-old mummified boy, mistaken for a hawk. In 1925, a native doctor brought a 2,100-year-old mummified boy to the Maidstone Museum in England, believed to be that of a hawk. This was not particularly surprising, as the outer wrappings were commonly used by the ancient Egyptians to preserve mummified animals like hawks, sacred creatures offered to the gods. For many years, this mummy was displayed to visitors under the identity of a hawk, until a special study revealed the truth. In the 1990s, archaeozoologist Andrew Nelson and his colleagues from the University of Western Ontario conducted a detailed examination of the mummy using CT scans. The results stunned everyone. The mummy, long thought to be a hawk, was actually that of a premature baby boy, estimated to be between 23 and 28 weeks old. This is an extremely rare case because the boy's brain and skull did not develop properly. The entire head was incomplete, and the vertebrae had not fused, a clear sign of anencephaly, a congenital condition where the brain fails to develop at birth. Researchers speculate that although the boy died before fully developing, his body was carefully mummified with special respect given to a life that was never fully lived. The outer wrappings of the mummy bear images of Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god of the afterlife, alongside the goddesses Isis and Nephthys standing by his side, all symbolizing a deep ritual offering. Notably, a three-headed bird with a human-like head is depicted flying over Osiris, with the Ujat eye above, a symbol of protection and health. This discovery not only solved a decades-old mystery, but also offered a new perspective on ancient Egyptian rituals and beliefs, showing that even the smallest lives, like this baby boy's, were prepared for the afterlife with reverence and special care. Dear friends, even after hundreds or even thousands of years, mummies remain remarkably well preserved down to the smallest details and still stand as a testament to their time, often causing fear and surprise for many. What about you? What do you think about these mysterious mummies? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more fascinating archaeological discoveries. For now, goodbye and see you next time.